Known as the land of 1,000 hills, Rwanda's beauty is breathtaking. Looking at these scenes of serenity, it's hard to believe the atrocities that took place here just 16 years ago. Over the course of just 100 days between April and July of 1994, up to 1 million Tutsi and some moderate Hutu were slaughtered. That's more than 6 men, women, and children every minute of every hour of every day for 3 months.
The 1994 genocide left very many homeless, left very many kids without parents. If you can get stories from these people as to what they have gone through, it is a really sad story.
We remember those who died in genocide, and that time is the difficult times for those who lost their families. It's when you get angry. Those who killed my family, I can't forgive them. But for times we will get used for this, and we will forgive and build our country in unity.
Today, it's remarkable the changes that have been made in this small but densely populated country. The economy is increasing, and Rwanda is slowly clawing itself back from utter devastation. Largely, this has been attributed to the work of President Paul Kagame, a survivor of the war and one of the West's harshest critics on its complacency during the genocide. The recently re-elected president, who won a 90% majority vote from his people, has been accused of being more ruthless dictator than redeemer. His policies are tough, and with a stress on women's rights and education. But with a largely illiterate population and a fiercely patriarchal society, he has his work cut out for him. I wanted to know if he was doing enough to help the most vulnerable. Are the long-suffering women of Rwanda being given the opportunity to educate themselves?
The education is of those who are educated. You know, if somebody can get through secondary school into college and get a degree, even better, get a master's, they've got a chance of getting serious contact with people that can lead them into a life of, you know, relative comfort. The problem with the underclass, if you like, is that typically they don't have an education. These are adults that are illiterate, mostly women, widows that were used to being part of a patriarchal society. And with a husband gone, they have no resources. They have no means and very few skills to earn an income.
Aquila is an institute for young women. Elizabeth Davies, the CEO, started the school after she noticed some inadequacies in the system.
I think the biggest challenge with the Rwandan education system now is first related to women, because less than a third of university students are female. So it's incredibly difficult for girls to continue their education past high school. And even though Rwanda has made so much progress politically, having a majority of women in parliament, that has not translated down to the grassroots level. It's very, very hard for girls to go to university. It's expensive. There's cultural and social barriers that prevent them from continuing their education.
I found out more by speaking to Professor Shirley Randall, the director at the Centre for Gender, Culture and Development at the Kigali Institute of Education.
The dropout rates for women in Rwanda are higher for men than men at levels of education past primary. The dropout begins to occur in secondary. It's partly to do with menstruation of girls, and often if a girl goes home because she's menstruating and doesn't have pads, the father will say, well, if you're not going to school, you better come and work on the farm. And girls traditionally have worked as helpers in the home as well as on the land. Almost every family in Rwanda has orphans. They're looking after orphans. The first generation of orphans from the genocide, and the second generation from HIV/AIDS.
In Rwanda, a woman's scars run deep. Of those who survived death by machete, many of the remaining were subjected to sexual violence and torture. Estimates say up to 500,000 women were raped over the 100 days, 20,000 children being born from these acts. Worse still, during the genocide, the Hutus used AIDS as part of their arsenal, raping to infect. 67% of women assaulted contracted the disease. This left Rwanda overrun with children who needed mothers, and the responsibility fell on the shoulders of the young women of Rwanda. Although there have been attempts to help these women, they've either failed or are too small to have any real effect. With something as simple as menstruation being another reason why women can be constrained to a lifetime of manual labour, it's hard to imagine the choice most women living below the poverty line have.
Ari muri Tanzania nabaga nk'umwana wabaga kwa sekuru. Ni ukuvuga ngo jewe kavukire yanjye ababyeyi banjye batuye mu Rwanda. Nza kujya muri Tanzania nk'umwana wajya kwa nyogokuru ariko bari. Nyuma rero nza kuza ariko ababyeyi banjye bo bari mu Rwanda. Ubu ndabona mu gihe nk'ubu ntacyo twari tubaye kubera igihe cyo guhinga nkanjye nta mugabo mfite ndi umupfakazi. Ubuhinzi bwanjye mpura nabyo nko kubera guhinga cyane cyane n'ibihe by'imvura bikunda kuba ari ibihe bikomeye kandi noneho guhinga ugasanga imbuto zitari nziza wazihinga zikakurumbira gutyo.
In relation to the opportunities that women have, I think probably because of the system of the past, the patriarchal system that exists in all societies, women's place has been in the home. And for women to go outside of the home and to work independently requires supportive husbands and very strong and determined women.
In order for a woman to be educated, it seems she needs to break away from her traditional role, husband and family permitting. She also needs to be one of the lucky who can afford it. Many women are marred by extreme economic deprivation and often can't continue their studies past primary level. I wanted to know what was likely to happen to these girls.
In Rwanda, there is many people of my age don't have the opportunity to go to school. Yeah, there is some of my friends who are not studying because Rwanda has many problems. Some of them are orphans, don't have the possibility to go to school and don't have the chance to go to government schools, don't have money to pay the private schools. Yeah, they just stay there doing nothing. There are many people in Rwanda.
There are very many who are dropping out from primary because of having no funds to enable them to continue with their secondary education. And as a result, they drop out and life is not easy.
The students who are not having access to education, they are just unfortunate. They are left on the wayside and obviously they will end up as peasants.
If I stayed home with my family, I don't know what I will become in this country. If you don't have studies, you can't get job, you can be nothing in this country. If you don't study, your future can't be good.
It's a struggle. It's really hard, especially because it's becoming such a competitive economy here, and the Rwandans that don't have the practical skill set, and if they haven't finished secondary school, it really limits their job opportunities. And Rwanda has such ambitious goals of becoming this knowledge-based economy. They want to become the IT and service hub of East Africa, which this country definitely has the potential to be, but it won't happen unless they have the trained human capital here. So I think it's absolutely critical that these education opportunities are made available to young people.
Rwanda has aspirations to become a centre of excellence for ICT and the sciences. The pressure to be a high achiever is on, and the need to be educated is paramount. As it stands, 2 of every 3 university students are male, and in the sciences, the statistics are even more skewed to the male majority. I asked Professor Shirley Randall what was being done.
The government is addressing the issue of dropout from girls in terms of scholarships and also getting into universities. by taking a cadre of 200 young women, and they're having a special training, 6-month courses in the science subjects to catch up. And they need to catch up because they've had a lot of disadvantages in their schooling. The First Lady has an excellent program so that the best girls at primary level get recognised for their achievement. Many of them are going overseas for programs overseas. What is important to me is for men and women together to see how important it is for women and men together to develop the country.
The government is making steps to address the long-standing plight of women in Rwanda. The bright and the lucky are being given the opportunities to better themselves, but many are still destined for a life of manual labour. With too many children and no education about issues such as menstruation, it does beg the question, along with a greater push on contraception, could the provision of free tampons help some of these women to have the chance of a better life?